All right. We are broadcasting live. This is, I say this every week, but it's my favorite time because you see everybody's name pop up. You know, it's like a rolling over and names that have been with us every week since the end of March. And I see Amy and Andrea and Beth and right on time. People are logging into chat and telling us where they're coming from. So we're thrilled that you guys are back. I hope that everyone had a great holiday and got some rest and got to take a deep breath. Alfredo Gonzalez, good to see your name, my friend. And we're back at it with some really great conversations that we're going to have today. Like always, we meet ahead of time and kind of talk about, hey, what's the strategy? What are we going to talk about? Realizing that this is laid back. These are friends talking to friends. Anything goes on these webinars. But we're super excited today because we're going to focus a little bit on consumer sentiment, kind of what we're hearing from our clients. Teresa was on our second webinar that we ever did at the first week of April. So it's going to be great to catch up with you to kind of see how things have ebbed and flowed for you since we started these. Before we get going, I absolutely have to remember to thank Betsy Cooper from Tour Operator Land. That is a division that has sponsored this webinar since the beginning, this entire series. And we had no idea it would last this long, but we're thrilled that we've been doing this long because it's really kept everyone engaged with what's happening in the industry. And that absolutely thrills me. So we have a lot to cover today. And I know that everyone's going to have a lot of questions, especially for this crowd. So we're going to start with introductions like we always do, and then jump into some consumer sentiment data that I'm looking forward to hearing from Marina. So Teresa, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your company and how you guys are doing.
Well, I'm with Personal RGE Tours and Travel. I founded the company 30 years ago. And well, we are trying to keep everybody in the staff busy. Like I said before, in March, we were going to do some webinars every week. We've been doing the webinars. We've been trying to find new markets that are allowed to travel to the US. And yeah, we're still surviving.
Well, that's really good to hear. And I'm going to come back to you on those webinars because we talked a little bit beforehand. There's some interesting things there that I want to talk about. David, first time on the webinars. We're thrilled that you had the time to join us. Tell us a little bit about your as you mentioned, your little nugget in TUI and Musement, what you're doing.
So yeah, thanks so much for inviting me. For those that don't know, Musement it started out in Italy in 2014, essentially as like an online travel agency for tours and activities. It's based in Milan, and it was essentially providing our customers with, things to do. So tickets to attractions and performances, sporting events, etc. Initially, we were servicing the Southern European source markets, so Italy, France, and Spain, and our supply when we started really was there as well in Europe. I started in 2016 here in the States and had the goal essentially of initially starting to build our direct relationships with tour and activity providers here. And so in the last couple of years, we went from just me to now a small team of 6 across the States. And I guess the bigger news was probably in 2018 when we got acquired by the TUI group. So we sit within a business unit within TUI. TUI is obviously a gigantic company based in Germany, 60,000 employees globally. So we sit within a business unit called TUI Destination Experiences, which just recently, probably in the last couple of weeks, changed its name to TUI Musement. And it is essentially the part of the company that provides tour and activity products and also, the in-destination experiences to the customers. So with this change of the name, it's really good for us, I guess, because it shows the dedication to TUI to really, focus on the digital side of the business. And we are now delivering, this like platform plus product. So our platform essentially to, provide our customers and suppliers the ability to add these products to the platform and then distribute it to all the different channels that we have. So currently we have about 130,000 products, and then we distribute that through the TUI websites, and then also the TUI agency platforms that we have, and all the different source markets that TUI services. And in addition, Musement's B2C website, and then also in destination reps. And then lastly, also through various different strategic partners that we have. And I know most recently, the one that we announced this year was with Booking.com. So various different ways. It's a big company, and we're a small, like you said, nugget within it. And now I think the name of it has kind of shown that we're, expanding and have a lot more influence on what's happening there.
Love it. Well, we're so glad that you're with us today for this conversation. No doubt it's going to go in a million different directions, and we never have time to talk about everything we want to talk about. But Marina, we came to you last strategically because you have some great information to share with us as well, studies that you've been doing all year. But first, tell us about you and your company, and then we'll jump in to your data.
Sure, thank you. I'm the founder of New York Online and places.events. I started New York Online 8 years ago. It is a website for international visitors to New York City. In the beginning of 2020, before the pandemic, it still is, in 8 languages, and we have customers in 50 countries. Our key markets were China, Japan, France, South America, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Russia, Poland, a couple of others probably. So in December 2019, we launched a new platform called places.events. Perfect timing, obviously, for launching a new platform. And it is a platform, a single platform to search for things to do at a travel destination. Unlike OTAs, we include not just sighting tours and key attractions, but also local events and activities, art, festivals, concert shows, sports, pretty much everything that is banned now. So in February 2020, we were live with 6 destinations, New York City, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, London, and Paris. And we were on track to launch 100 destinations by the end of this year. But things changed. So we'll get there. My background is in marketing. Before I came to travel industry, I spent many years in the media and advertising agencies. So I'm a marketer and a data analyst. And all this time I was looking at the customer sentiment, not only at what our own customers are telling us, but we now live in a world of data. So there is so much information that we can tap into, like Google search queries or data from social media platforms. And we are not crossing any privacy boundaries because it's aggregate data, and it still allows us getting the information about what's out there. I put together a couple of slides that I hope you will find interesting. And most of it, I think, will confirm the assumptions that we have, but I always think it is good to get that kind of a confirmation. So yes, my thinking is right. Oh no, interesting to see this or that. So let me share my screen and hopefully it all works. Okay, there we go, share from current slide.
Look at that, it worked.
Okay, it works. So what data tells us? There is a ton of data, and obviously I didn't use all of it. I just used a little bit of pieces. And for this brief presentation, I used Google search queries. I also looked at Instagram and some of the social media, but it's mostly Google, what people are looking for at Google. I'm sure you all know Google Trends. It is a free tool that is out there, and it's actually very interesting to play with it. So there is an interesting thing. Interest to travel as a topic hasn't really changed, except for obviously the spike that we had in April because everyone was trying to understand what's going on. But it stays more or less, the interest to travel stays more or less at the same time. I included data from 2017, but you can look it back for like 5 years. So before, it is more or less at the same level. However, and obviously what changed is what it is that people are searching for. A couple of conclusions that I made. First, number one is there is a lot of uncertainty and there is lack of information. Some of the questions, and this is just, tiny bit of what people are asking Google. These are the questions that people ask Google is if travel restrictions are lifted, do travel agents still exist? Will travel recovery 2021? Where can we go? What are the travel restrictions? There are questions like if the restrictions are constitutional. There are actually lots of funny questions too. But anyway, this is just to give you an idea of what people are interested in. And to me, that as a marketer, it says that there is not enough information to provide so that people continue asking those questions. Some of the other things is attractions, because I'm also in the things to do category. If attractions are open, what attractions are open, when they will reopen. And this is also important for all of us who are in the attractions industry. Using this search queries data, it helps you get an idea about what people are interested in, and it gives you the direction for content that you can put on your website or in your all kinds of marketing materials. And these things change. So it is important to stay up to date and to update all your marketing channels, be in all the possible touch points with the information that they want. Because this data is real time, it's also interesting to see what kind of Christmas travel related questions people ask. And most of it is in the same direction as the very first slide that I showed. It's about the safety, which kind of makes sense. So where can I travel? Will it be possible? Will it be canceled if it is safe? And again, as a marketer, my recommendation is if you have a website, if you have a newsletter, if you are open or if you're planning to be open, if there are any activities that you would like to promote, please include that everywhere, because people don't feel like they have enough information. An interesting observation, and it's kind of, again, obvious, but there is a decline in specific attraction searches. But to be honest, I didn't realize that it would be almost 100%. So trend here, the percentage that shows here is how the monthly keyword search volume has changed versus the last 12 months. And I didn't choose the specific attractions. This is the Google data that I have. And you can see these are, some are more famous than the others, but it's almost everywhere. It's almost 100%. So people are just not searching for these things, which we know why. But again, I was surprised to see that it's almost 100% down. Just a couple of other examples that you can see. Some do get a little better numbers, but still 70% or 80% is obviously a huge decline. This is real time. And it includes, as you can see, not just attractions, but also passes, attraction passes. Another interesting thing, and again, you know about this already, but as I say, it's always good to see this confirmed through data, because you can look at the data at scale and see that, yes, it's not just your assumption, this is actually what's going on. So we see the decline in specific attraction search, but we see an increase in all kinds of near me and category searches. There is an interest, and again, it's kind of obvious, attractions near me, aquarium near me, sightseeing near me, amusement parks near me. What I also find interesting, and this is also like a little hint in terms of marketing, when you look at these keywords, it actually says to me that people don't know what the attractions near them are. So in your marketing copy, in your marketing materials, make sure you don't just include the name of the attraction, but you include content that speaks to the local audience. And again, not just the keywords, but targeting as well. So near me and category searches are on the rise. And my prediction is that it will continue staying like this for some time. And then people are bored. And that's also an interesting observation. I didn't want to highlight the trend in green because to me, green speaks for something positive, but it's plus, it's not the decline. So this is not specifically travel related, it's just in general, but this is also interesting to see the kind of questions that people ask now. And this is again, real time. So this is also an idea in the direction of, if people are bored, offer them some things to do and get them to your attraction if you're open. This is a keyword cloud. And this is not just social media, this is social media and web in general. So this is travel related keywords. people still want to travel. There are a lot of, I could, but I decided that it would take a lot of time. I didn't include the sentiment analysis from Twitter and Instagram, but when you look at those, you can clearly see that people want to travel. To me, that's very optimistic, and I do hope for V-shaped recovery, obviously subject to lots of restrictions and vaccine and everything else. But I am optimistic when I look at this data, and I understand that people will be ready to travel when they can. Things to do, similar thing. People are looking for, well, they have always been looking for things to do, but now with adding the previous slides, looking at all of this from a helicopter view, people do want to find interesting things to do and experiences, especially near them. One last quick thing, and again, as a marketer, being in the travel business, one thing to keep in mind is that there are so many touch points. So try using as much as you can. And especially now with vaccine on the horizon and with people becoming more active in their searches, it is important to interact, to have the conversation with them, as many touch points as possible. And I know we all have limited budgets right now, if we have any budgets at all. So be creative, use partnership programs, use free stuff as much as possible, and make sure that you are visible, that the destination is visible, and the information that you provide is the kind of information that your customers are looking for, not just the one that you think is right. That's it. That's my brief story. We can't hear you, Sherry. Sherry, you're on mute.
Trying to talk. Getting back into these, that's right. You have to unmute yourself if you want people to hear you. It goes hand in hand with everything that we've been talking about when we start these conversations. Is everyone on the call, we all want to know what you're hearing from your clients. We want to know if they're traveling, if they want to travel, when they're going to travel. And that the consumer sentiment is everything we've been trying to figure out. When is travel going to start? Is there going to be a need for it? Is there a built up demand? So it's good that it's out there and you can see it. And as Marina proved, you can pull that information pretty quickly with yourself, just looking at Google Trends. David, are you hearing the same thing from your clients? Are you seeing any anomalies in consumer sentiment, or are people ready to go?
It's interesting because I have to look at it in two different ways in terms of like the customer segment that we have, because TUI, as like the TUI group historically as a tour operator, is something that I had to learn over the last couple of years. And so in the States, they actually, only have one program really where they have like the end-to-end ownership of that client, which is to Orlando. So TUI has their own agencies and then their own flights. So they have over 150 airplanes, and then they have their own hotels as well. So they fly about 100,000 people, typically primarily from the UK, over to Orlando a year, usually between March and November. And this year they canceled the program pretty early, just because in anticipation of like everything that was happening, and focused on next year. So the booking window for TUI is typically pretty far out there. So they're typically booking almost in the UK 2 years in advance sometimes. So I know if they launched their 2022 program in the beginning of November, but I know that they did do, initially, I think there was a lot of cancellations, obviously, and then a lot of rebookings, and a lot of the people that are visiting from the UK are coming over with a theme park ticket, and focusing on a couple weeks stay with the theme parks. And they have their own, a lot of the theme parks have their own UK ticket, which is typically averaging 2 weeks, which is a pretty long time. And I think a lot of people rebooked for 2021. So they are seeing a lot of rebookings for, next spring, restarting hopefully the flights in early March. And then we're also seeing rebookings, people booking for 2022. I would say that people are, that although there are rebookings, I think people are waiting still to see kind of what happens with next year, because the demand is there and everyone's ready. jump into it. So maybe not booking for 2022 because they want to come still next year. But so that's what we're seeing from the tour operator side. You know, and also there's limitations right now with even the travel shops themselves. Obviously, they're under, you know, the restrictions that they have from their own government. So a lot of these travel shops have either closed down temporarily or the agents are working from home. So it's, you know, limiting as well. And then I think the other, you know, segment that we have is our FIT customers that are booking, you know, typically just like a tour and activity when they're traveling. And obviously, you know, that's down quite a bit, although we have seen a lot of bounce back, I think, really in Europe initially when these travel corridors kind of opened. So, you know, when people could travel this summer from England to Spain or, you know, Germany to Greece, you'd see a lot of activity because everyone's ready to go. But I think for us, really what we're hearing from our customers is, you know, the need for a flexible cancellation policy, the need for, you know, information about COVID readiness, both, you know, at a country and city and even down to the event level, and what people are doing, you know, the suppliers themselves are doing to prepare and sanitize the, you know, the location or whatever it might be. And we're providing that information now down to the event level, to the customer, so that they can be ready or at least comfortable with whatever location they're visiting as well.
Makes sense. You know, that's ultimately, as we go through these conversations week after week, the number one thing that we're hearing is people want to travel, but they want to feel safe. And they'll travel when they feel safe. So it's great that you're providing that information for them. Tereza, I know that you have talked to a ton of clients. And one of my favorite stories, we were talking about this earlier in the week, is you were on the second webinar that we had. And I think you were the first person on our webinars that talked about virtual trainings, that you were using this time to train potential clients, current customers on what they could do when we come out of this. So I'm curious to know how that went. Have you continued on with that all year long? And what are you hearing from those clients that you're training?
Well, in the beginning, when we started in March, we thought we were going to do those webinars until maybe June, July. And well, we're still doing it. Had one yesterday. We've been doing those webinars every Wednesday. And something that I've been hearing from our clients is the silver lining of this, which is giving us time to understand some destinations that we were not very familiar before. So they keep sending us messages, asking us, why, giving us like tips. Oh, we would love to, you know, have a webinar for this area or this city or this region or the wine country. You know, they keep sending suggestions, and that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to, you know, accommodate their requests, and we are still doing the webinars. And it's been good for my team because my team is being trained. And it's also good to our clients because some of our clients, they were very unfamiliar with all the other destinations in the US. They were selling like New York, Vegas, California, Florida. And now it opened a door for them to sell the other destinations.
That's great. So, and that brings up a question that we generally get. And I should say, for anyone that has a question, if you could use the Q&A box that allows us to keep it all in one place, you can put it on the chat and I will be monitoring, and I'll try to get to those as quickly as possible as well. But to that point, when you're opening up other destinations, not just those main urban destinations, as you're talking with clients, are they looking at staying in those secondary destinations and choosing that over an urban destination, or
Yes.
kind of trying to combine the two?
They're combining.
Okay.
Because since we just do international markets, they need a gateway in the US, and the gateways into the US are the major cities. So when they come from like Europe or Latin America, they need to come to one of the main destinations. But what we've been seeing lately is like they are asking for more destinations close by the main destination. Let's say if they're going to New York, now they're talking about exploring the Hudson Valley, the Finger Lakes. They're talking about, doing things around New York, which usually we never saw that before. We always had our package like 7 nights in Manhattan. And now people are like, okay, the 2 first nights, and then we want to go up to the Hudson Valley, for like 4, 5, 6 nights, and then we come back to New York for another couple of nights, and then we go home. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of, for the trips to Orlando, people are requesting a lot of Clearwater, St. Pittsburgh, Sarasota, destinations that, we saw them before, but not like with as many requests as we've seen lately. So yeah.
That's really promising. I love that.
Yes, it is.
Marina, have you seen the same thing? Like with your places and events in New York Online, have you seen people trending more towards that rural or tertiary destination or attraction rather than the urban? Have you seen a change in research there?
I agree with Teresa. It's exactly the same thing that we see. We obviously have way smaller clients now because we used to have so many international ones, and many of them just physically cannot come to the United States. But what we see now is exactly what Teresa was saying. And I think one of the reasons for that is also because people want to stay busy. They want to explore things, and there are so many things that are closed now. That's why they're looking at what else I can do near me, or in this case, near me would translate into near the destination that I'm traveling to. So yes, it is exactly the same. And I think it will continue staying like this for some time as we are on the way to recovery.
I love that. And David, you have mentioned that you're, super busy right now. We're using this time to get to figure out how we're working into next year. But this kind of information, kind of outside of the gateway, what's beyond the gateway, is that changing how maybe you contract some destinations or experiences?
Yep, for sure. I mean, when I think in 2 different ways. I mean, in TUI as a whole, the group, is very heavily focused in Europe. So I think what we saw there was initially, even from a group level, was trying to refocus some efforts to build product offer in destination for the source markets themselves. So there's a lot of Germans that travel with TUI, but typically they travel outbound. So they'll go to Spain or Greece or whatever it might be. And so, with Musement, we have destination managers that were building product in those destinations. So it was a good time for us to really start to work to develop, the knowledge base, I guess, of the agents to start to think about us also as a provider of in-destination or domestic experiences as well. Sure. And I think here in the States, it is interesting too. We are building more. We started really in the top cities, the main international and domestic, mainly visited cities. So the ones you would assume, New York and Orlando, Vegas. But as we're growing, definitely we're seeing a need to offer more product in these secondary and tertiary markets. And I think too, from what we've seen, even as, with what we're doing with some of the partnerships we have, and even with what we've seen through building the partnership with Booking this year, is that they, the markets that they have they send a lot of customers might differ from what we had historically. So we really want to grow the offer for them as well, and all their strategic partners that we're starting to work with. So currently, I think with them, we provided them thousands of products, so over 100. I think we're at 132 cities now. So, when you start to look at the states, you start with the focus on those big cities, and then now we're building up, Portland and like you said, Dallas or Nashville, or places where we just didn't have, let's say, the bandwidth to actually do that before, but as we grow, we are now. So yeah, and I think it's interesting to see some of the searches. I saw there's a 50% increase in the Corn Palace. So people are going to places that aren't historically probably the destination that you would assume that they're going to, but you never know what people are looking at. So, it's interesting to see those metrics for sure.
Love that. So does that mean, I'm going to put my DMO hat on, does that mean that you are contracting new product and are looking for people to send you information potentially on some of the unique experiences in their area?
For sure. Yep, for sure. And actually, when I first started working here, I mean, that was working with different DMOs and CVBs is something that was really helpful for us to be able to start that initial conversation with partners. I think, when we started, a lot of that product was, offer was built through, maybe relationships with receptive tour operators or whatever that might be able to offer us a lot of product. And obviously when I started, it was like, let's start with direct relationships. And that really helps us to build, a really good base for product offer in those destinations. But for sure, in different areas where we're looking to grow, that's a great starting point. And I think, for anyone that's on the call that does want to reach out, that either is interested in connecting with us to recommend particular partners or suppliers in their destination, you can definitely email me, and it would be at usa@musement.com. And we're always
don't worry, David. I'm going to share your information with everybody.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. And Tereza, all of the I'm sharing everyone's information, by the way. You are doing a webinar a week on destinations that you didn't normally handle, so or use as product. Does that mean you're also searching for product in those destinations?
Oh yes. Because when we put the webinars, we are getting a feedback from our clients, and they want information about hotels, attractions, what to do, where to meet. So besides the webinars, we're trying to talk to everybody on the CVBs, so the DMOs, to send us information about the attractions. And we are contracting with a lot of new attractions, a lot.
I love that. And certainly, Lori just sent a question that said, what destinations exactly are you looking for? And if you have any off the top of your head you want to share, otherwise we can share some in follow-up. I can get them from you on destinations that you are looking to find out more information about and get more product in. And Marina, you have a website that's launching, so I'm just assuming that you're looking for product as well. Which makes my heart sing, because everybody here is looking for new product for next year, which makes everybody on the call really happy as well. So are there any particular destinations that are hot right now that are getting requests for that you need information in?
I'm trying to look at it from multiple angles. So first, there are destinations that we want to promote, and then there are customers who are not exactly always sure what exactly they are looking for and what destination is good for them right now. And again, is that near me search, or is it something else? So what we are doing now is we're launching a new section on the website that would be, I don't know exactly what the name of the section is going to be, but it's something like what's open or what's out there. And we will be including all the things that are open. So we are open to talk to all destinations. As the industry is getting back to recovery, then we'll structure it in a way, but that makes sense for everyone. But yes, open to content from all destinations.
Everyone's writing really quickly now to make sure they have that. But I will, I promise everyone on our follow-up that the contact information will be there so you can reach out to everyone. So, we've kind of talked that you're building up for next year. Do you have bookings for next year? I mean, I know that most of the TUI bookings rescheduled into 2021. Do we know when those are starting, or can you share when those are starting? Because we kind of saw a shift, right? Of, hey, it's going to be February or March of 2021, and then that moved to the summer, and now it's kind of moved further down to the end of Q3. So, I mean, are you guys seeing anything in particular for bookings next year?
What we see is people started asking for refunds. So those people who ask to reschedule, like they would reschedule from March or April to summer to August, let's say, then they said, let's do it for Christmas. And now we see it's like, yeah, I'm not sure when this is going to change. So I would like to get my money back. So 2021, no, not that much. More questions from people asking, when do we think travel will restart or reopen?
Got it. Got it. And Teresa, what about for you?
Well, we had few reservations for for the beginning of the year, but now moving everything after April. Most of the plans for travel now, it's like into the summer. Nobody's planning anything, especially because we do a lot of cruises, and the cruise lines just cancel the cruises. So for the beginning of the year, in some of our packages, they include the cruises. So everybody now is moving everything for like April, May, June, July, and we are depending on the cruise lines also. We are also depending on the airlines because, I just do international markets and the airlines are not flying, or if they are, they're having like 2 flights a week for the destinations. And people are just waiting for the airlines to, put more flights to their destination, the cruise lines to be sailing again. So yeah, most of whatever is coming for 2021 is coming for after April. But I have some good news. We had, something good that happened this week. We had a couple of groups for 2022 that I just got an email changing to 2021 for the end of 2021, like October, November, December, because with the vaccine so close to becoming a reality, people are now bringing back whatever they had for 2022 to 2021, which are good news.
That is really good news. And it's funny you brought up airlines. Alfredo Gonzalez, when we were talking earlier about flights, and David, when you were talking about TUI and the flights that they do, one of the questions was, would it be an opportunity for operators, because there's going to be planes carrying a lot of that vaccine that was announced, right? Vaccines all over the world. So some unaccounted for seats, maybe that is an opportunity for operators. So I'm going to put you on the spot, even though it's not your division. Is when are TUI starting their flights next year?
Yeah, you know what? I think they initially were aiming for this March. Like I said, they canceled pretty early because of the fact that they assumed like what was going to happen happened. So I think there's rebookings, for the spring of next year. I think probably end of March, beginning of April. Now I couldn't tell you how many or anything yet, or if that could potentially change. And I think the initial decision to do that was so they wouldn't have to continue to do that, right. Changing and pushing back, and because that process, I'm sure for anyone that's been through that is when you reschedule and then find out that it's pushed back, these conditions and the closures are pushed back again and have to continue to push is not good for anyone really. So I think that's what they were looking at initially. So not 100%, but pretty sure it's around April probably.
That's great. And so when you're looking specifically at maybe some of the bookings that are coming in, are they heavy like on April, like when it's first starting? Or are you seeing the majority of them summer, late summer?
So
next year?
I there's someone on my team who manages specifically the relationships with the theme parks. And because it is a big job, and I did call, I spoke with her last night to get a little bit of insight, but it's a lot of that's changing consistently, so I don't really have exact numbers on that. And
That's
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll just bug you for them later to include in a follow-up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. I'm sure she has the info, and I'll provide it when I can, for sure.
So let's talk. Let's switch to. We've been talking about what we're hearing from our clients, but how are you communicating with them that things are open for sale? Are you doing some current marketing with them? Is it just emailing to a current customer base? And if you're doing some marketing, how can everybody on this call's number one question is, how can I help you? How do we work together to get this kick-started again? So is there anything that people can do to work with you? And Tereza, I'm going to start with you.
Well, exactly what Marina said before, information. Information is key. Because right now, there's so many changes daily with like attractions that are open or not open, and restrictions of I need to quarantine when I get there. And that's the problem. Information is key. But we are, in our end, doing whatever we can without any budget, to be honest with you, because I don't have a budget for marketing right now. But we're doing what we can with emails and social media, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, that's what we've been doing. We are always trying to put our products, like whatever we have for 2021, we are marketing heavily, but most on social media and email blasts.
Perfect. Okay. And there is a question that came in, and we can answer this offline if you'd like to as well. They want to know if there's a fee for setting up the training webinars that you're doing with staff.
No. No. They're all free.
Yeah, true partnership. There you go. I love it.
No.
David, what kind of marketing are you doing, or if anything, out to customers?
Yeah, I can echo the sentiment about the difficulty, let's say, of managing all of the information about closures and the changes in that, because we're not, I think, from a global perspective, if you can only imagine, a lot of that stuff changes day to day. And so I think it really helps us is that we focus a lot on our technical acceleration, through this entire process. And a lot of that deals with integrations with reservation technology partners and ticketing platforms, which provides a kind of real-time availability for that stuff. So that is reflected then on our site in real time. So that's one thing that helps. But at the same time, just managing, all of the closures globally in all these countries can be difficult. So information, like she said, like Tereza said, is very helpful. We definitely are doing different sorts of CRM campaigns and connecting with the pre-existing TUI customers and that customer base that they have already. I think, like I said, in some sort of redirection, let's say, to domestic travel in some destinations, and then also working with some of our partners to just keep up to date with whatever they are also ready to deliver, and providing that through newsletters and other things, as well as traditional types of marketing campaigns and things like that as well. Digital marketing campaigns.
Yeah. And Marina, what about with you? Ways people get involved in health?
There are a couple of things I wanted to mention. So we didn't really do a lot of marketing activities during the last several months because it just didn't make much sense. So we used, as Tereza said, email marketing for the most part to existing client base, some social media, but really limited, but mostly it's email. In terms of the opportunities for everyone on this call, and I will try to share my screen real quick. I hope I can. Okay, let's see. if you guys have anything that is virtual or live stream, we can add it to our list, and it's all free. We do not charge for that. There is no fee. And we do work with a lot of DMOs, and Betsy actually helped us with that a lot. I'm very grateful to her for that. So what we do is we just need a photo, we just need the event title, and then what we do is we link directly to your website. And whatever, okay, page not found. Maybe it was a bad example, but anyway, so the link that we have from you is the one that, let me get back to this, is the one that we include here. And there are all kinds of things, and that is a good way to add some visibility to your product, to your experiences. There are, I'm sure everyone has lots of videos and all that. So that's one thing. The other thing I also want, and yes, please reach out to me and we'll be happy to add it to our platform. There is no fee and it takes like 5 minutes to publish, so it's really easy. The other thing I also wanted to mention is taking a look at a couple of partnership opportunities that are out there. Some of you may know about HTTA, a nonprofit initiative we started back in April with Jonathan Elkubi and Bruce Amick, and it's in working through them that I learned that they have a program at Where Traveler, where there are a couple of co-op marketing programs, and I think it is a great opportunity. And if you'd like more information, I can share that after the webinar.
Perfect.
I was going to say, Marina, you clicking through on that site is the perfect example of how much things are changing on a day-to-day basis, because you know, the people are offering something and then things change. And I think it's difficult sometimes, even for us to connect with partners. I mean, you know, it's helpful to be connected to the partners directly, but I think, like we said earlier when we were talking before the call, Sherry, which is that, you know, I feel like people are either really working a lot or not working at all. And I think, you know, what we do find, I think with some of the partners is that, you know, as they've had to scale back or restructure things, is that, you know, things kind of bottleneck a little bit, because typically when you've been working with like a partner directly, maybe someone that's a sales manager, and unfortunately, some of these, you know, our friends and colleagues in the industry are no longer working. So the people that have to end up taking over that workload might be the COO or, you know, the head of the entire company, and their workload and their pipeline and everything that they have to do might not facilitate them really connecting with you. So it is, I think, a challenge that we're all seeing. I don't know, you know, if everyone's seen that, but I think from this side where we're managing lots of supply, that's something that we are definitely seeing. And I think that's the main thing too, that I'm, you know, trying to always keep in focus, is that, you know, we're all pretty isolated right now. And I think it's, you know, keeping in touch with our partners as much as we can is really important. I think both on a personal and a professional level. I mean, you know, everyone out there is, a lot of people are working or not. And I think it's, you know, keeping in mind the people that you've been connected to and making sure you reach out is really important, if ever right now.
More so than ever right now, I agree. So Teresa, you just got a little bit of love I thought I'd share. I had the pleasure to provide a training destination webinar with Personal RGE Tours, and it was wonderful, all caps. Opportunity and partnership, thank you. So people are loving that you're doing that. Keep doing it, my friend. We are, and we have like 10 minutes left, and actually we have like 5 minutes left, because I promised one of our other divisions I would end a little early today because they have a webinar that they want to do right after this one. So we're going to kind of start wrapping up, and I want to know, and David, kind of following just what you said, you know, what's really important right now is to keep in touch with each other and to communicate. But what are some words of wisdom that you know, any words of wisdom for moving into next year? You know, staying in touch with each other is one of them. Anything that you think we need to be thinking about as we finish up 2020 and put it well in our rearview mirror, I hope, and look forward to 21.
I think we're starting to, oh, I'm sorry, David.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, you go, Teresa.
I think we're starting to see the light in the end of the tunnel. You know, I think we still have a few months ahead. They're going to be a little challenging, but at least now we can see the light. And because 4 or 5 months ago, there was not even the tunnel. Now at least we're seeing the tunnel and a little
Right.
film in the end of the tunnel. So we need to keep going. We need to keep doing whatever we're doing. Keep our clients informed. We need to keep our clients knowing that we are here, that we are, doing everything we can to keep the company going. And we're going to get to the other side of this.
Absolutely. And working together, we will. To David's point. Marina, what about you? Any words of wisdom there?
I would suggest, well, yes, we all need to stay strong. Yes, I do agree. I wrote a post on social media a couple of days ago that we see the glimpse of a light. Yes, I totally agree, Teresa, that we didn't have any before. Now there is a glimpse, which is very promising. And we just need to go through those several months and listen to our customers, see what they are looking for, make sure that we provide them with information, start marketing soon. Probably too early now, but soon we'll have to become more active. But listening to the customers, I think, is one of the most important things.
Love that. And all three of you have been doing that with new product ideas and really getting some new offerings out there. All right, hit us with it, David. Next year we're coming back, so you can play the piano while you're giving us your words.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, same thing. I really, it's interesting. I started working in the industry in like 2002 as a tour guide for like an overlanding kind of adventure travel company, and that was after 9/11. I think it was all international travelers, and we saw, and I started, when I started, it was really a blast and a big boost of people traveling and inbound international travelers. Those couple of years afterwards, it was the best years the company had. So I definitely think, once that glimpse of a glimmer turns into a little bit more light, I think that we will see that with the demand that everyone has, and is that it's going to, definitely bounce back. And I think, it's hard to say right now, but I definitely feel like there's going to be a lot of unique opportunities and things that we don't even really know right now until that really does start to happen. So, I think that's really hopeful. And I think, like I said, on a personal note, I'm really excited and ready to get out of the house. So as soon as that happens, I will be traveling myself. So I'm looking forward to 2021 for sure.
I love it. I think all of us are, and everyone on this call. So we're going to wrap up so this other webinar can get going behind us. But thank you to our panelists for taking the time and being with us and sharing your insights and what you're doing and giving us that glimmer of hope that there is. The tunnel has appeared and we can see some light through the end of it. So I like that analogy, Teresa. I should say thank you to everyone that attended our event in November when we met in person, and we did it in a safe way. And I appreciate you trusting in us and coming down and being there for us. And we have 2 more great webinars that we'll be doing before the end of this year. Next week, we're going to check back in with Malcolm Smith from IPW. We're going to check back in with Carol Asante from Student Youth Travel Association and Pete Pantuso from ABA to kind of find out what might have changed between when we talked to them in April and next year when their events are going. And my boss, Will Seckham, will be on to talk about our events next year. So no pressure there. But it's going to be a good one. You certainly don't want to miss it. We'll follow up with everyone's information on our follow-ups and takeaways that we'll send out by Monday. And everyone have an amazing rest of your week and a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you so much, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Safe.